Hello everybody, welcome to episodes 59 of Constellation TV. I'm Holger Mueller here with my fabulous co-host Liz Miller. Hey Liz, how are you doing?
It is one of those mornings. We're doing awesome. Let's kick it off with a little news. Well, Holger, talk about full work days. What are you up to? What are you up to right now? What's happening?
I stayed the weekend in Europe because it didn't make sense. I didn't want to travel back and forward. I was at IBM's Quantum Partner Forum last week in Paris, and I'm hovering over here, saving airline costs and airline travel, staying along for the European edition of Sapphire in Barcelona, where you made it to the beautiful Florida swamps last week, right?
I made it to Florida. I went to Sapphire, and let me tell you, business is booming. People are excited. It was really interesting to hear that, hey, SAP is opening up new markets. They got a whole mid-market offering. They're helping, those mid-size organizations kind of get introduced to SAP. So it was really interesting. We got to hear from an airplane manufacturer. Really, it was wild, where they said, listen, we didn't think we could even look at SAP. We didn't think that we had the opportunity. We're too small. And they are getting started. So SAP is now really trying to be that company that is not just seen as the big giant enterprise firm. And they're they're really trying to come back with that, with a lot of new programs to get people up and running on SAP, but also making sure that people can then grow that business and become that big giant company that I guess our grandparents used to think SAP was only reserved for.
Right, because fittingly, SAP labeled the program Grow, right? So here's the message for the SMB. If you want to grow, get SAP Smart Marketing. I mean, that's above my pay grade, definitely. But it's going to be super, super interesting, right? Because never in the history of enterprise software has a large enterprise vendor managed to scale their capabilities down to SMB, right? All these things have always been thwarted in the past, right? And we see the same strategy happening right now at Workday. We don't see the strategy at Oracle, which is a two-pronged approach with their Oracle large enterprise product, Fusion, whatever, and NetSuite, right? So it's going to be really interesting to see. And then we have the opposite, theoretically, of Infor, which is kind of like this SMB and large enterprise trying to go up. So really interesting situation there.
I think in fairness, though, and I think we need to be fair to some of these vendors, that they aren't really going for the quote unquote SMB market, right? They're really going for that upper mid, right? They're going for that mid-size enterprise that certainly we're talking, thousands of seats, but more importantly, lots and lots of data, right? So we're looking at that upper mid enterprise that's really on that cusp, that really wants to start moving up. I think SMB, that small business, you're starting to see companies like Zoho, right? So we were just at Zoholics. I think you start to see Zoho that is really understanding that there is a niche called SMB, where they are moving into enterprise. You are getting some of those mid-sized enterprises that need that more robust platform, but they also have the solopreneur. So you saw Zoho actually coming out and doing the opposite.
Zoho went also down, right? So went very down, right? So very small.
So I think we're definitely seeing that. I mean, I think that, hey, I've got a big question for you though. Hey, is quantum happening? You were just in Paris.
Yeah, I mean, it was very interesting to see, because we only talk about the 3-letter words or 2-letter words, which we shall not mention in this introduction, right? And something is fighting back, one emerging technology. There's so many things happening in quantum this spring, actually, with new hardware platforms coming out from a number of vendors. IBM is on track for their eGrid or something. They call them all birds, their new platforms, 417 cores by the end of the year of qubits. So that's going to be interesting to see. But what was most interesting is to see come people together from customers, prospects, service providers, strategic advisory company like Boston Consulting, industry analysts, academia, all doing new stuff around quantum and all learning from each other. It was basically a 120 people event. Was like CCE, for the people who don't know. That's a small scale event, which is unique from a networking perspective, because there's not the us in the audience versus the whole stage, but it is everybody is at stage at one point. So it's kind of like a more camaraderie, open communication, more learning. So well done by IBM to have this partner forum. They call everybody a partner there. to do experience exchange around quantum.
But let me ask you something, because I think that, quantum got a little bit of buzz, like quantum was kind of buzzy a couple years ago, like, blockchain kind of pushed it away, blockchain got buzzier, but then quantum keeps kind of coming back. I keep hearing, people keep wanting to figure out what to do with blockchain, and then all of a sudden the big hubbub around quantum kind of dies out. But this feels real for some reason. Like what you were talking about and what you were sharing in the videos that you were posting about the event, it felt, I think, because there were so many different people and so many different types of folks around the table discussing it. It was more about making quantum real and where and how quantum should and could be applied, rather than just talking about quantum, right? Like this big amorphous thing that we're going to call quantum that only a few people could be part of.
Right. So the super interesting thing is, because of the differently known use cases in security, in healthcare, in manufacturing, in chemical, and so on. I forgot a few here. The question is, will the number of qubits jump over to enable all of them? My analogy is always the PC. The PC could do Word and spreadsheet. Word processing is less cumbersome than the big spreadsheet, but it could do both, right? Or will certain use cases get a jump start because the hardware cycles will just enable them and not the other one? And the big question is, nobody can really tell you how many qubits do we need for a certain use case, which shows again that we're still in the infancy. And to say that, right, the lady who runs Google, sorry, name escapes me by heart, right? She said we're still 5 orders of magnitude away from the number of qubits and the error correction to make these qubits fly, because not just about the qubits, they also have to be steady, right? But hardware is accelerating really fast on this, right? We've gone from single-digit qubits to now triple digits, soon going to be quadruple digits. So we'll see what's going to happen. And IBM's strategy in their sandwich composite way of putting these systems together, that's a very well understood technology from putting servers into racks, right? So we'll see if that's going to be the right approach. That's the other exciting part, is there's different approaches of getting it done, right? We're still in a worse than VHS versus Betamax situation, where we don't know who will win, that is incompatible different approaches, right? We'll see who's going to win there.
But Holger, here's what we know: it's not going to be Laserdisc. Like that's not going to be the way that wins.
Yeah.
But I think it's also interesting, because I think that that hardware battle's happening. You're seeing the qubits conversation happening. Yes, we're not going to talk about that thing that everyone's been talking about a whole lot, but there is something. There is some news that has come out, and maybe because of that thing. And it is that
from the hype. Yeah, the lesson from the hype that you said. Sorry to jump in here. We have lots of latency in between us. That for some reason, and that's valid for the other parts, funding news gets a lot of headlines. Yeah. And funding can happen, like in the quantum case, where startups run out of cash, right? They had to clamp down with the overall startup funding issues and so on. So looking at the news and looking what's the news behind the news, if it's only about funding, that could be the next hot thing. You can never say never, but it could be also too early and fizzling and running out. And now we have the proven vendors. We have Google, Microsoft, IBM, who've been long-time vendors in the space. Also some entries like Honeywell or with Continuum, as they renamed themselves, who are playing a role. But these are traditional large enterprise companies who know the use cases. And all of a sudden, it's much more quiet, despite there's progress. So it's funny how the press works.
Well, I mean, I think also it's going to have that one big spark. You're going to have that one big spark like we've had, with AI right now. AI is having a moment, right? So you're going to have this huge spark. You're going to have this massive churn of news, but then you're going to also have the flip side of that news. And I think we're already starting to see that. We're already starting to see the flip side. Lots of big questions being asked. I think we've already hit that point with AI where we've tried to put weird humanizing words to it, like it's having hallucinations. Like, we're starting already to go down that path. What I think is going to start happening next, that next big wave that we're going to start to see, is going to be the regulators come out. Where are the regulatory bodies getting involved in this? We're starting to see that with data, come through already. You've got the European Union and you've got European bodies slapping Meta with a record-breaking, staggering $1.2 billion fine. So we're going to see what happens there. The order is they've got to shut down the European data stream. Of course, Facebook will fight that. So even by the time this episode drops, there will probably be new news that comes on top of that. But 1.2 billion, suddenly we're in the B's, and suddenly we're in a space with regulatory fines that shows we mean business. And this is not some kind of, we're going to be cute with GDPR. We're going to give you a couple $1 million fine here and there.
Because effectively Meta broke the GDPR hosting consent things, right? So, and this is why the fine is in the billion range.
It's a pretty big deal.
Slap on the wrist, yeah.
Right. But I think we're going to start to see that same pattern. You're going to start to see that same pattern with models. You're going to start to see that same pattern questioning what's happening with the data. This thing is having hallucinations. Well, why? We're going to want to start to see those conversations. So I would say, we might be towards the middle of the hype cycle. Don't know if we're quite near the end of it. But I think the big news here is that what's happening in our world when it comes to enterprise technology is we're starting to see a rapid advancement in what you've actually been talking about for quite some time, right? That need to have all of these applications decoupled from that data so that we can actually get these things moving in a way where you're getting action and intelligence.
Which is extremely hard to do. So everybody's kind of like struggling with this. There's no perfect solution for this. The cloud vendors are guilty as charged as well because they don't offer any out-of-the-box solutions, which would be great for their business, right? Because manage to split the data, separate the data, get you as a customer on multiple continents and so on. But it's crickets there, right? So you're left on your own as an enterprise to try to stay compliant, and it's not easy, it's not trivial. And the world is global. If you fragment your data, it's going to be harder for you to react on a global level and see trends earlier.
For sure. Well, I think that does it for us, Holger. We've got a lot of stuff coming at you. So stay tuned. Thanks for being with us. Well, everyone, CRTV, I have got an amazing guest with us right now, Rob Walker with Pega. Rob, how are you?
I am well. I'm well. I'm in Amsterdam, and this is my last thing that I'm doing before the weekend.
It's Friday night. Awesome. It's you know what?
In Amsterdam.
It's a weekend and it's in Amsterdam. So of course we've got to talk about AI. It kind of felt like the right time to do this, Rob. So let's jump right into this for our viewers. Hey, I'm not sure if you've heard about this thing, Rob, but did you know that AI is a thing now? It's a thing. We're doing it. We've all jumped in, right?
I did hear. Yeah, even at birthday parties, sometimes people are just talking about it. Yes, it's a thing.
Isn't that crazy? I mean, I love it. But let's talk about why this time is different, because I think that especially in business, and I will say, especially when it comes to business applications, especially when it comes to experience applications, we've been talking about AI for a while. Specifically, you've been talking about AI for a while. But I think that, now we're in this new headline hype. We're talking about it at birthdays, but what's different? I mean, what does AI really mean for today's organization? And why is this conversation so different than what we've been having for, arguably at least a decade?
Yeah. At least that. I'm not even going to date myself by telling you when I did a PhD in AI, which was way before it was fashionable. So I'm having the time of my life. But yeah, no, for a long time, especially in business, I think AI has been used sort of at scale and everything. But it wasn't always called AI. It wasn't always it was hidden in all sorts of processes and things, so people may not have recognized it. This time, obviously, it's very recognizable. And everybody understands, especially content, images, large language models. So I think that makes a big difference. And rightly so. I mean, honestly, I've been in this space. I've been a fan of AI for a very long time. But it is kind of a breakthrough moment, I think, for AI, for sure.
But I think there's something else that I would really love for you to share some insight on, because there's a reality that not a lot of us want to talk about, which is a lot of times AI projects fail. Right? It feels like more often than not, we have these big dreams about what we think AI should be doing. We get the whole data team to run off. We got algorithms left and right. We've got models left and right. But what we're talking about specifically when it comes to sales, service, and growth, if I focus in on that kind of growth dynamic across that wide world we call customer experience, we're very focused on growth, and we don't necessarily have the time or the budgets to allow AI to fail anymore. So when we're talking about this round of projects, this round of applications, this round of transformation, how do we keep out of that cycle of big dreams of AI, but not seeing the impact and the output of it?
I'm not sure that's going to happen quite yet.
No!
Right? I think, the reason is like I think honestly the failure rate sort of AI in the past has been maybe a little higher than it deserves, because all these, AI is so open-ended, right? It can do millions of things. There's tons of people that see, opportunities for improved predictions or classifications or actions. I think in the past it has been a little bit of like, hey, we'll use AI, right? What's the question? Whereas sometimes, just regular automation might have worked, or maybe rule-based system, So I think that's a little bit of a part of it. And the other thing is what you just mentioned, right? It is data, right? AI is very, hungry for data, and the data needs to be, reasonable. I think that is a challenge. But also, I feel, and that will happen now, and that's why I sort of, said, well, I think the failure rate will not go down. There will be amazing things, and actually amazing things are already happening. But there is now an abundance, of hot AI software that may or may not be great, right? Don't get me wrong, but it's not necessarily, enterprise grade software. It may not be scalable or even safe, right? So I think we need to sort of, keep our heads and look at that. We've been in AI for a very long time, but it's not like an open-ended toolkit, right? We've used it really for purpose in the experience sort of area, and I think the failure rate is negligible. I would want to add one more thing on failure, because we're sort of thinking about like, hey, there is data and we put this AI and we tried it and it failed. It may not always fail in performance, right? But I think it sometimes can fail on in terms of irresponsible use. Right there, I think we should also call that failure. It's not transparent or explainable, or makes companies liable. That's another point of failure, even if it performs really well.
Yeah, and it's amazing, because I think thanks to this new conversation that we're all having in AI, I keep hearing more people be willing to look at experimentation differently, because we have that rapid iteration. So it's not always just like, I tried it and it failed. It's more like this, I'm going to try it, I'm going to keep adding to it, we're going to keep looking at the data that we're feeding into it, the impact of why we wanted to do it, and we keep iterating and improving from there. So I love that point of, it's not always a failure. So we have to maybe give ourselves a little credit. But I think that right now I feel like we're in this age of like infinite coolness when it comes to AI. Like, oh my God, it's writing letters, and maybe we could replace every single service agent. Like, we're having wild conversations, and everything feels really new and cool. But you and Pega have been talking about something for quite a while now, which is, this ability to address capacity. I think the world is talking about like, how can all of our service agents send out emails that sound like Shakespeare? That's cool. But when we talk about shifting capacity, that's something very, very different. And so I want to dig into that. You and Pega talk about something called the age of the autonomous enterprise. And I really want to get clarity around that, because I think that feels really cool. And sometimes when people hear it, they'll think autonomous enterprise, no one has to run it. Everyone gets to go home. The business runs itself.
It's over, yes.
Right, it's over. Fire everyone. But that's not what we're talking about. So how do you define the autonomous enterprise, and why should we be aiming for that?
Yeah. So I think honestly, let's nuance autonomous a little bit here, right? So because you're quite right? But it may sound like a black box and zero human oversight or intervention, or anyway, things that can easily be out of control, even if it is very cool. But I should honestly think that we currently should really define it as like, think about it like it's like an always-on model around, insights and recommendations based on those insights, right? But without necessarily taking that into production automatically. I think that's really where we sort of draw the line, right? We can have AI make great suggestions, and some pretty, enormous suggestions on experience strategies and things like that. Nothing tactical, but still, it's then going to a human who would look at it as if that human would get it from like, you know, a particularly gifted colleague, right? It's something like that. So I really think about autonomous more in like, if you compare it with like, that's an inevitable comparison with like self-driving cars, right? Nobody likes self-driving cars right now, right? It's about the parking assist, the lane assists, all of these kind of things. And I think what we're doing, this is what you said about, you know, capacity. It's like really a matter of doing, you know, more with less, maybe with much less, not so much fewer humans, right? But just with less of an effort, right? I think that is really, that's really important. And I personally believe that society is not quite ready, right, for companies that are fully self-driven, so to speak. And at this point, I think AI should guide humans and be guided by them.
I love that. I love thinking about it as lane assist. Like that was the light bulb moment for me when you said it. Cause I'm like, even with lane assist, I fought it to begin with. Right? Where it's like, stop moving my car. Now it's like that really great guidepost. And it's really like you're driving the car, but you still want someone sitting in that passenger seat helping you change to better music. Like that's where I want AI to be, right? Like find me better music on the drive.
Yeah, or have like, you know, like a Harvard professor on tap, right? To give you sort of guidance, but it doesn't mean you have to accept it and immediately put it into experience. Right. And I think that's I think is really important.
Love that. Well, listen, you and Pega, you have Pega World like right around the corner. I mean, you guys, you're in high gear ramping up for that celebration. You're getting everybody back together. I know I'll be there, so I can't wait to be there and hear what you guys and what you have to say. I'm gonna be holding you to that. But what should I expect? What is going to inspire me at Inspire?
Yeah, well, so much, Liz. I'm very confident, and I mean, yeah, we're back on stage, and I'm back on stage for my keynote, which is, you know, mostly about AI. So yeah, there will be a lot of AI. So shocker, right? But I think the approach will be a little different, right? We will show how generative AI fits in, you know, in the new product release, but not in a naive way, right? I think honestly, with all this hype, I see everybody is jumping on, especially on generative AI. Although I just feel like I should call out like the stuff that DeepMind has been doing a while back, right? Beating us at Go, doing protein folding, you know, that's pretty awesome stuff. But anyway, I see a lot of these generative AI use cases now that are just not differentiating, right? Yeah. Any software vendor worth its salt obviously now has access to large language models, but the trick is to have sort of different categories of AI work together with humans, and automatically engineer prompts, right, that are deep and use unique insights. So it's like we'll be showing stuff like AI working with a human to sort of, you know, do autonomous stuff. Yeah. Right? So I think that's really what I'm excited about.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, I can't wait to see you there, Rob. Thank you so much for spending this time with me. And hey, I'm going to see you at Inspire.
Hello, everybody. It's Holger Mueller here from the Quantum Partner Forum. Thank you for Rudy, who is my host here in Paris at this event, which has brought together about 100 people, the who's who in the quantum industry, from IBM researchers, IBM go-to-market people, influencers, customers. I sat next to a gentleman from Pegasystems. So great event. We kicked on day one. What is your biggest takeaway, Parvini?
I think so. This is an excellent opportunity for us to learn from others, the partners of IBM. What is their quantum journey like? Right. And we're really excited to have you here, Holger. So
thanks for having me here. Yeah. So, and the networking is a big aspect here. I'd zoom over, privacy be damned, on what's happening on the networking side. The big takeaway was we had a presentation from the head of IBM France talking about that quantum is strategic for IBM, for IBM only, but also for France, right? Even innovation agenda to bring business back into France. I was surprised to hear that France is the fourth most popular country to attract investment. That was a $4 billion initiative by President Macron. 1.8 billion is going to go to quantum. So this is personally for me the good news here, because everybody's talking about AI. It's 2023 and it's all about AI. We had a keynote presentation, 3 presentations, and not a single time AI was mentioned. It was truly remarkable. It was all about quantum, 1.8 billion built in France from that. Then we had Anupama presenting the whole ball ecosystem with a lay of land.
Yes, yeah. We had Aparna Prabhakar. She's the Vice President for IBM Ecosystem, and she is hosting this event here with all our partners here. So she talked about our partners, what they're doing, how many partners we have.
Different categories of partners, right? Not only hardware partners, so there's also customers as seen as partners, strategic partners, system integrators, mixed people, exactly. Many of them are here, academy, research-wise, right? Research network. And then we had the man for quantum, like Jen Gambetta here, an IBM fellow, was looking forward to what he was saying. He talked about some things which we can't talk about yet, unfortunately, but you will know everything by what date? June? Mid-June, all the secrets will be there. Very interesting progress. It's also the spring of quantum. I can't talk too much about that, but very interesting. Like what I think was public, I tweeted it, so I have to take the tweet away. You hear it here first. It's live. It's the rough, not using architecture for software architectures, but the architecture of the IBM quantum computers, right? With the separation where the quantum piece is the other one. So check my Twitter for that. We have to take it down, so better hurry up quickly. And it didn't say NDA on the slides. Very interesting, great start. 2 more days. Don't miss the videos, recaps, which we'll do tomorrow around 12:45. I'll have a special guest. I can't spill the thunder yet for that. And on Thursday and Wednesday at some point.
Right, we'll be doing another video here.
Perfect.
We'll be doing the recap of the last day. And
the last day, day 3. Thanks for watching. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Hey, Holger, that was one heck of an episode. We talked about quantum. We saw your wrap up. We talked about stuff that's coming up with AI. I thought it was really interesting. You know, Rob was a great person to talk to. So thank you guys for staying tuned with that. But listen, that does it for us. Up next, Doug Henshin, Diane Hinchcliffe. But that's how we're going to wrap it up, folks. Thanks for tuning in. See you next time.
What is that lone light bulb just hanging in the back?
Well, that's how I have to house at my brother's. No.
I was telling Holger how I'm thriving in Colorado, and he continues to find reasons.
Well, then you run. Oh, yeah. Well, you're definitely close. I mean, we can agree on that. You're closer to wilderness in Denver.
Wilderness? Did we mean wilderness? Not wilderness? When you have a kid, Hannah, you're going to figure this out. I don't know what it is, but they create an exponential factor of laundry. It's not like, oh, you've got a tiny person. They create tiny loads of laundry. No, it's like,
The only way to stop that, Liz, having raised 4 daughters, is you're in charge of your laundry. If you go over the allowance, it's your job. All of a sudden, changing 3-4 outfits a day and throwing the clean outfits in the hamper is magically stopping. It's like magic.
She's 6. Nothing magically happens at 6, Holger. Nothing magically happens at 6. You want to know what magically happens at 6? I turned around one day and she went from 4 Barbies to like 20. And I was like, who did this? Okay, so first of all, Mattel. Let's take issue with Mattel for just a second. Mattel actually makes an urban chicken farmer Barbie. That's right. It's a Barbie.
Right? I mean,
dressed up. I didn't get it for her. Someone got it for her birthday. So for her birthday, she got a Barbie that has a chicken coop with little chickens and little eggs. You want to know what hurts more than stepping on a Lego? Stepping on a Barbie chicken. I don't know if you got the memo, Holger, but Barbie, she can be anything. And apparently, in this list of anything, I mean, I thought anything would be like astronaut, president, doctor. No, she can be a spa owner. She can run a pizza store. She can have the question is,
could she be an industry analyst?
There is yet to be a Barbie industry analyst set, and I'm not sure what would be in that Barbie industry analyst set. I'm thinking airplane tickets, like a little card to the airport lounge.
Yeah,
be in there.
Limo to pick her up and drive her back and forward. Sweets.
Wait, you're getting limos to pick you up and drive you back and forth places?
No, Barbie will.
Barbie will.
Oh, yeah. Barbie, right?
Not us. Yeah, not us. We get an Uber.
Barbie.
Yeah, I get Sam, the Uber driver that wants to know too much about me. That's little headset, little microphone headset.
Barbie will have only limo rides, right? She will only be upgraded to first class, and she will only have suites to sleep in, right?
She's only doing keynotes too, so she has like the little headset, right?
She has ghostwriters.
She's ghostwriter. She's like 10 people
write her
following
reports.
her.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Barbie as an industry analyst has a cush job.
And she has doppelgangers who look exactly the same like her, fresh and prepped every day, no matter how many hours she slept. Yeah, Barbie
I hate that Barbie.
I mean, I want to have her now.
She's going to have a green screen. Her whole kit's going to come with like a green screen, and you can change out the backgrounds.
She has an unlimited luggage allowance for all the outfits, right? And she changes into them.
Oh, yeah. She's got you. She has like all the luggage in like a little rack. Oh, yeah. Damn. If Barbie can be anything, she should be an industry analyst. There'll be a whole like ring light camera hookup that she can film videos on. Barbie's
I will be the roadmap whisperer. That every now and then she says, remember, ask about the roadmap. So somebody has to do it. Holger, the roadmap whisperer for Barbie.
All these papers that come out that'll have quadrants and waves and lists, and like kids are gonna be like, oh my God, when I grow up, I want to do a SWOT analysis of a technology no one wants to buy. Yeah, it's gonna be so good. It's gonna be so great. I can hear Mattel cranking up the Imagineering board right now. What would the Barbie industry analyst kit look like?
Or
it's huge.
Free product ideation for Mattel.
Free product. Someone get the Figma board app. Okay, let's film this shit. I gotta go.
Yeah.